Welcome to the water element practice. It's for our 100-hour foundation seasonal yoga course. So this water element practice is all about finding the flow. It's all about fluid movement. And we're starting from child's pose and then gently finding the space in between the vertebrae of the spine as you go from child's pose into upward dog, back down into child's pose. So gently leading from the navel, moving through the spine, dropping the pelvis, dropping the shoulders, taking the head back on an inhale, and then exhaling as you come back down into child's pose, engaging navel, trying to get the sit bones down in the heels. Inhale as you rise up again. Then exhaling as you come back down into child's pose or downward dog. If you're doing downward dog, make sure it's a wide, long downward dog. No time to adjust the feet, because when you come back into upward dog, the hands are directly underneath the shoulders. So rolling through your toes also warms through the bones and the joints of the feet. Also ideal for this water element flow. You can alternate child's pose, upward dog to downward dog. Back into upward dog, inhaling, inhaling, inhaling. Peak of the inhale finishes. And then exhale, bringing the chin in, tucking the navel in and back down into child's pose. The exhale finishes, the inhale starts, and you come up into really nice upward dog, leading with the chin, exhaling and back down into wide, long down dog. It's a really nice way of mobilizing the spine. Moving through each move, mindfully opening the spine. The breath moves the body and the body moves the breath. So here we're coming into downward dog to transition to walk into or step into or jump into, whichever you prefer, the front of the mat. Uttanasana, forward fold to finish, taking an inhale and coming all the way up. Looking up at the hands, nice big inhale, exhale, bring your hands down, thumbs resting on the sternum. So now just feel from the center of your feet, balance between the toes and the heels, mountain pose, front end of the mat. Inhale, hands up. Exhale, forward fold, engage the navel, allow the rib cage to melt down, head coming back to the space. Inhale, first time just lengthen on your fingertips and then flatten your hands to step back with one foot into plank, bringing the second foot back. Here you can drop the knees and come into lower plank and then all the way back up into upward dog. Exhaling, toe rolling, or knees and toes into downward dog. So we'll stay here for 5 breaths. This first time we'll do the complete 5 breaths. So it's really important to focus on foundation through the hands and feet, making sure the toes are spread, making sure you're not resting on your toes, but you can actually lift your toes off the mat. Heels are pushing down towards that space between the heel and the mat. Hands are spread, navel is engaged, so you feel the whole length coming from the palms and the soles of the feet up to the navel. Inhale as you come up onto your toes, exhale as you step, jump or walk forward, finishing with a forward fold, and then coming up all the way, taking the breath to bring you up, exhaling as your hands come down and rest on the sternum. Again, inhale all the way up, look at the hands. Exhale, forward fold, engage the navel, soften your knees. Inhale, look up, fingertips or flat hands, whichever you can manage. Now bring your hands flat back into plank. Lower into lower plank and then come down towards the ground. Inhaling, upward dog. Exhaling, downward dog. So you can stay here for 5 breaths, but we are just moving through this video. We're going to take you into the front of the mat. Inhaling and exhaling onto your toes, stepping in or jumping in, and then forward fold. Inhaling, coming all the way up. Exhaling and down. Same thing again. So sun salutes are ideal warm-ups for the body. Ideal for this water practice. So moving the fluid through the body, making sure you're moving the energy all the way down. Lower the knees, lower the chest, upward dog. Exhale, downward dog again, with the invitation to stay there for 5 breaths or stay there for 1 breath, depending on how long you've got to practice. Bend your knees, inhaling. As you come forward, bring your feet forward and then exhale. And then just bring the ribs in contact with the legs. Inhale, coming all the way up, allowing the breath to keep you up. Exhale and come down. So have your block handy. Going to need it in a moment. So just step back. And then I'd like you to turn out your right foot and just rest gently with your elbow on your knee and then lift the left arm pointing over the left ear. The back foot is pointing forwards. You feel a pressure on the big toe, but also pressure on the outside edge of that left foot. You're not actually leaning on your elbow here. Your elbow is just comfortably resting on that knee. Bandha is engaged, navel to spine engaged, and you've looked from your armpit to your elbow to your fingertips. Here you're breathing. Now we're going to transition to the other side, left foot out. Nice big inhale as the hand comes up, and exhale as you settle into the position for 5 breaths. Steady inhale and exhale, holding this extended side angle pose. Again, making sure you're not leaning on that elbow. Inhaling and exhaling, feeling the length coming from the heel to the hands. Now we're going to turn our feet. I'm going to come into Trikonasana, triangle pose. It's better if you rest your hand on a block for most people because legs are longer than arms. So having a block or a book, if you haven't got a block and you're at home, underneath your hand. And here you find space in that bottom hip, navel, rib cage and chest points towards that front side of the mat. The hand extends nicely as you breathe, inhaling and exhaling. Making sure the knees aren't locked back and making sure you aren't holding on with your toes. Keeping the neck long, making sure the navel is engaged. And then you're going to actually come out of it and change sides. So we bend our knee, grab the block, come all the way up, turn our feet, and lengthen out, block on the ground, and then back into finding foundation and lengthen all the way up. So here again, back foot slightly turned in, left foot out, softening the knees, making sure you've got nice space underneath at the side of that left hip. It's finding space in the hip as the hip goes back. Shoulders are down, neck is long. Bend your knee, or you can take your hand down if you're finding the posture is too much pressure. Hand up again if you're feeling you're in alignment. If the ribs aren't fully extended, that hand down may help you get deeper into the pose. Here you should be breathing easily, inhaling and exhaling, and then bend the knee to come out of it. And again, coming back into the front of the mat. So your back foot is going to step a little bit near. Here we're doing rotated. So you're lengthening with the left hand. Bring the block on the outside of that right foot. Rest firmly with the hand on the outside on that block. And then here we're going to rotate the navel towards that back wall, the rib cage and then the chest. So the whole torso has to rotate, which is why it's been so good to do that moon flow to start with. If your torso has successfully rotated, you can help a little bit by pushing back in your right hip. You find if you bring your arm up that your shoulders are in perfect alignment. If you aren't fully rotated, you'll find that your arm kind of goes at a little quirky angle. So here you are pointing the opposite way from your feet. Not the easiest pose, but it's really great for creating space in the spine. Now we're going to transition to the other side. So you need to make sure your hips are parallel with the front of the mat, legs aren't too far apart, and then rest your right arm on that block. Take a moment to lengthen back in that left hip, and then you're pointing the navel, the rib cage, the chest. And if you find you've fully gone round, you can extend the hand up. And then if you want to look up at your top hand, if your neck is uncomfortable, looking down is also an option. Here you're breathing, inhaling and exhaling. All the time feeling the space in that front left hip and the rotation which is happening through the spine. Bend the knee, inhale, come all the way up, back into the front of the mat. Samastitihi.